put it on. I was like, test, test, test. How we doing, everybody? Happy eMerge.
Happy eMerge.
Let's make some noise. End of day. It's Friday. Come on, we're on the beach. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here and seeing us. Today, we're going to be talking embracing uncertainty, entrepreneurial strategies for scaling success in uncharted territory. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name's Lisa Nuessle. I've been at Ironhack going on 5 years, and my background, I'm coming from corporate IT and have gone on to become the general manager of Ironhack, where I may have met a lot of you in the tech space, and now I'm leading our U.S. enterprise programs for Ironhack. So Ironhack, we're a global ed tech startup. We've been disrupting education since 2013 with 10 campuses and a growing community of 15,000 tech professionals worldwide. So Ironhack, we help companies hire and develop corporate talent and teaches career changers the most in-demand skills. I'm here with Ariel. Ariel and his co-founder, Gonzalo, have scaled Ironhack from one brick and mortar location to global operations spanning 8 countries with over 160 employees. Ironhack has raised over $30 million from leading edtech investors. And we have Ariel, co-founder, co-CEO. He holds his undergrad from Harvard and MBA in entrepreneurial management from the Wharton School of Business. And he is a proud Endeavor entrepreneur and YPO member.
Thank you, Lisa. How are we doing today? Thank you for being with us on a Friday at almost happy hour.
So as mentioned, our discussion today, entrepreneurial strategies for scaling success in uncharted territories. So let's set the scene to give you guys an idea of Ariel's perspective. 2013, you moved to Spain, you're in a foreign country, and you start a company during one of the largest economic downturns when very few people were starting businesses. 2020, COVID hit, you saw your business drop 50%, and you were forced to pivot your model. And you've been through the ringer. I'm sure you have a lot more war stories. So today, we're celebrating 10 years of Ironhack.
Not yet. We'll celebrate in October.
Okay, October, we'll guys see you at the 10-year party, but we're getting there. And I've had many lives at Ironhack, so been part of these cycles, so very excited to jump in. Let's get to it. What are your thoughts on the current market? Where are we now?
So, given the forum, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ariel here. Given that we're mostly talking about tech, I'll talk about tech and the broader economy, right? With the caveat that I'm not an economist. So on the tech side of things, it's been a rough year, without question. And the Silicon Valley Bank crisis made what was a challenging environment even more so, right? On the flip side, right, we're seeing $500 to $600 billion of capital sitting on the sidelines that needs to be deployed, right? So even though we're seeing a negative sentiment in the market and we're seeing a contraction in deployment in the last couple quarters, there's still a lot of institutional capital that needs to be put to work. That's the first thing. The broader economy, right? Like we're dealing with inflation in ways that like our generation and younger generations have never experienced. We're dealing with geopolitical tension globally that we've never experienced either, I think, in a really long time, right? We have a political cycle that's starting in a few months that I don't know that I'm super excited about, right? But at the same time, we're starting to hear people about this, talk more about this notion of a soft landing, right? Like maybe we're not gonna have as bad of a recession or a recession at all, right? And in the job market is surprisingly strong, right? So yeah, we live in uncertain times. We're living in weird times. We're living in confusing times, without a question.
So as an entrepreneur, I'm sure we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience. You feel this uncertainty coming. You see it in the news every day. You got to ignore LinkedIn. How do you begin to wrap your head around it? Like, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs to start dealing with this?
Yeah. And by the way, I'm excited to speak about this topic because I've been doing this for a decade now. And some of the hardest moments for me in the journey have been moments like the ones that we're facing now. So if I can help one or two people in the audience today navigate the current environment, job done for the day, right? There's a lot of stuff you need to get right in terms of team, execution, strategy. But if I were to start somewhere, for me, it starts with mindset, right? And cultivating the right mindset to succeed in a stable environment and even more so in an uncertain environment, right? And when I think of the dimensions of that mindset, a bunch of things come to mind, right? You have to be, for sure, resilient. I always talk about going to the resilience gym every day, right? So you're ready for these moments. You have to be adaptable in times of rapid change. You have to move from one place to another super, super quick, right? And you have to be optimistic, right? You have to be able to see that what's going on right now is more likely than not going to be short-lived, and there's going to be a brighter future.
Yeah. Now, let's unpack growth mindset and resilience. During difficult times, what do you tap into to access that?
This is where I unlock my my personal coach, my guru side. And it's true. I think in order to be positive as an organization and as a leader, you need to be well as a person, right? And you need to be well equipped in all aspects of your person to navigate a personal crisis, right? If you're not in a balanced place, if you don't have good perspective, it's going to be really hard to lead your team through a crisis. Second thing I'll say is that, and this is something I've developed with the years and maturity, the ability to separate myself from the things that I can't control. You know, COVID was a really hard experience for a lot of us. But looking back, there were so many factors that I couldn't control about what was happening in the world and was impacting my company, right? So I'd say there. The other thing I'll say is that for me, I always like to flip the script. Yeah. And uncertainty creates opportunity. We're here on a stage where we probably spoke about moats today in the investment community. They talk about investing in companies that have moats, right? Like a castle protected by a moat. And VC investors want to invest in companies that have the equivalent of those moats. Typically, we're going to ask questions about R&D. We're going to talk about network effects. Yeah. But I like to think that uncertainty can be a moat. And I'll give a very simple example of that. When we started the company in 2013, as you said, we started in Madrid, Spain at a time where no one was starting companies. And the locals, Spaniards, were super, they're like, you're moving from like Philly to Spain to start a company in this environment, yeah. Right? In that contrarian belief, that capturing of value through building that moat was transformational for us. We're able to advance so much and build a brand, a network of alumni, a community of partners during a time that no one else was doing that. So that was our first moat, yeah. As a business.
So it's about taking care of yourself, that growth mindset and resilience. You know, a co-founder can have that, but as you're growing your organization, how do you ensure that trickles down to your team and spreads to the organization?
Final thought on the previous question. Some of the best companies from the past 2 decades were founded during the Great Recession, right? So if you think of 2007 through 2009, you have the WhatsApps, the Instagrams, the Ubers, Airbnbs. These were all companies that were founded in moments of the same craziness and uncertainty that we're facing today. But going back to your question on team, right? Yeah. It starts with leading with integrity and by example. Yeah. You have to model the behavior that you want to see in your team. So if you're expecting people to be optimistic and adaptable, you have to be somewhat optimistic and adaptable yourself. You have to communicate, increase the levels of communication, be transparent. And then you got to give people space to navigate the environment in their own way, trust and empower them. And the more you trust your team to get the job done, the more they'll find that confidence to push through and achieve the outcomes that you're expecting them to achieve.
And, just to jump in for a second, right? When I think of my life at Ironhack and my career, it's all about empowerment and ownership. And that is what keeps me going, because I see every day I control my own destiny. Anything I do, you see the result as, and you're not just a cog in the wheel. So we mentioned before, there comes a time you need to be decisive and activate. Let's talk times of war, right? What are some tactical and execution advice when your team needs to give to war mode for operators and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of literature on, times of peace and times of war, right? On business books and startup books. And in a way, I think it's a very fitting analogy. Yeah. I read a bio, I think it was from Jim Mattis a couple of years ago, and he was talking about this concept of fog of war, right? Like, I think we've heard this in movies, right? And the idea is, you can plan all you want for war, right? But once you get to that battlefield, it's chaos. Yeah. The plan goes out the window, communications will break. You're not going to be as calm. Yeah. And in that book, I learned the concept of commander's intent. Yeah. The importance for a unit to know what is the vision that the commander has, where is it that we need to go next, yeah. and much less so about you need to do X, Y, Z by this date, or you need to do it this other way, yeah. right? And in business, I like to use the same framework. Yeah. For me, it starts with clarity of mission, vision, and goals. Yeah. People need small units of measurement of progress. Mm-hmm. So I can say, I'm doing well. Yeah. And then it's about really trusting them and giving them a platform to do what they have to do. Yeah. If you're depending on the same processes of a time of abundance with centralized decision making, bureaucracy, that's not going to work. Yeah.
And that ownership aspect of day to day is essentially you're doing military drills, right? So in times of peace, you're still acting like it's times of war. So when it is time to activate, you're not confused. You know exactly what to do, right? So talk to me about when things get real, right? Tell me, share the audience a story about Ironhack when you had to activate war mode.
Yeah, I mean, you were there, right? In 2020, I'll give brief context on the company. Been building this business for 8 years. We were in 9 countries, and it was a dream ride. Everything was, I'm not going to call it easy, but easier than I thought. Yeah. We were doubling every year. Everything was exciting. I never had to look at cash burn or profitability closely. And in a matter of 11 days, we had to shut down our 9 offices globally. And we saw a decrease of 60% in traffic, applications, enrollments, revenue. My model didn't work that way. Elon Musk, I read at some point that Elon Musk described the dark moments of entrepreneurship as staring into the abyss and chewing glass at the same time. That moment, I was chewing a little bit of glass. Yeah. It was the first time that I felt an existential threat towards my business. In that moment, we applied a lot of these frameworks that I'm sharing today. Being clear about the vision. We assembled a team of 8 really adaptable, aggressive, risk-taking, talented people to create a dedicated unit for online learning that would capture students from all over the world. through tremendous hard work, good execution, we managed in 6 months to build a business unit that was generating a couple $1 million of revenue. And from doing that and keeping the investor community abreast of our progress, we were able, in December of that same year, so 6 months later, we were able to secure our Series B round of $20 million, which was the easiest round that I've ever raised, with best terms that I've ever raised, all within a lapse of 6 months.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we used to drink Aperol Spritzes at lunch while you were on the phone with them, so it was very relaxing.
And other stuff.
So let's talk about finance capital for a second. What should an entrepreneur be focusing on from a financial perspective, and any hope of raising capital in this environment?
If financial hygiene or discipline is important in normal times, it's even more important in the current environment. You know, to say the obvious, you need to look at every line of your P&L and make sure that you're maximizing revenues and, where appropriate, reducing costs. You need to look at your Excels or your printout of your Excels with total objectivity. You know, I've fallen into the trap of not doing the right thing for the business by telling myself a story about the numbers that was not true. Yeah. Right? And I think, you know, from a basic hygiene standpoint, also just model out your cash flow and monitor that on a daily basis. Beyond that, it's more of a nuanced answer. You have some companies that are pre-product market fit, don't have a strong balance sheet. In that case, it's probably wise to slow down the spend. Yeah. In other cases, you have companies that have a solid financial engine, have proven unit economics, have a strong balance sheet. Then maybe the wisest thing in that context is go for it, right? Eat market share, take advantage of your competitors retreating. You asked me about fundraising.
Any hopes of raising capital?
Fundraising. The environment's tough. Right? The environment is tough right now. I think, as I said, there is still a lot of capital sitting on the sidelines, dry powder, so to speak, that needs to be deployed. There are deals getting done. I think entrepreneurs and investors need to reset expectations to the new reality. And I'm starting to see more openness from entrepreneurs and investors to meet in the middle, right, in the current context. But I think we need to move on. Yeah. And my advice for entrepreneurs that are waiting for that round, create optionality for yourself. Don't go all in on assuming that you're going to do the round on Q2 or Q3. Make sure that you do scenario planning, which is crucial in the environment that we're in. You have to plan for shutting down a division, keeping things as they go, as they are, and then racing the best round ever at the same time. Right. So for me, it's about how do we preserve runway and create optionality without being overly pessimistic.
So last year you were on this panel. You gave your predictions of the most things likely to happen in night tech by 2030. Do you remember what you said?
Yes.
I have receipts. He doesn't. So he said, thanks to AI, every learner will have the equivalent of a person tutor for free. Topic of the conference, AI. What are your thoughts on AI? How do AI and technological innovation impact everything we've talked about?
Who has used ChatGPT? Yeah. Crazy, right? I'll share a little geeky story about ChatGPT. So I wasn't super excited about ChatGPT 3 when people were, I don't know, reciting Despacito lyrics with a Shakespearean like, I don't know, I found that silly. But lately with ChatGPT 4, I started running an experiment that at first was very much an experiment, maybe a little bit of a joke, but it's becoming a little bit scary and exciting at the same time. I created a chat to start training a board member. So I wrote a prompt to train a Chat GPT board member. And we've had a beautiful 10-day relationship where I've shared financial information, information about my team, information about my strategy and roadmap. And today I wanted to share the advice that ChatGPT gives to you guys, my trained ChatGPT gives to you guys.
We good?
All right, so I told ChatGPT, let's see. Good morning. I'm doing a presentation today at a tech conference on navigating uncertainty as a business leader. As a board member, knowing everything you know of me and Ironhack, what's one piece of advice you would give to the audience on how to navigate uncertainty? Please keep it to the length of a tweet. Embrace uncertainty by staying agile, fostering a learning mindset, and continuously adapting your strategies based on data and market insights. Resilience and adaptability are keys to success. Hashtag leadership, hashtag business advice. I go, thank you. Thank you. Can you make it more related to my business and everything you know about Ironhack? You don't need any hashtags. In a rapidly evolving tech landscape, Ironhack thrives by staying adaptable, prioritizing student outcomes, and investing in quality education. Navigating uncertainty means staying true to your core mission while being ready to pivot. That sounds like something I would say, right? So for me, it's insane, and it's insanely exciting, as you can probably guess by my geeking out with this stuff. I don't know where the future of boards in corporate governance will take us. Now it's not that far-fetched for me to think about a world where a voting board member is AI. And if I think of our industry, education, what's happening in higher ed and high schools all over this country? What's happening? No one is writing their papers. If I had to guess, maybe less than 10% of the students are writing their papers nowadays. And they use ChatGPT to write the first draft of the paper. Then they use another AI to clean it up so that Turnitin doesn't recognize that it came from ChatGPT, right? And we can say, oh wow, that's terrible. But the reality is that we're going in that direction. And for me, as an education operator, it opens a lot of questions of what is the future of education? If we're not learning how to write papers or research or do math in the same way that you and I learned, what is it that we're going to learn? So for me, it presents a lot of open questions, a lot of uncertainty, but a lot of opportunity as well.
So let's give a little bit more inspirational final thoughts. That kind of scared me a little bit for university schools. What are your final thoughts? What would you give entrepreneurs as advice?
I'll end it the same way, and I'm not trying to be cute or overly sentimental here. I think it's important that everyone takes care of themselves and their teams during these moments. I'm still tremendously optimistic about the future of technology, the future of our industry, the future and the impact of AI on our lives, on our productivity, on society. But it starts with taking it easy, solving for the next immediate step, and applying a lot of the same tools and frameworks that I share with you all. So
amazing. Well, give it up for Ariel. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you are a company that is looking to hire tech talent and looking for reskilling, custom tech talent solutions, we will be at that booth right there with the neon sign that says Ironhack at 4:15. We're going to pop over to the main stage. And if you are someone looking to get into tech, to become a developer, designer, data analyst, looking for a career change, our team will also be over there as well, ready to talk to you. So we're going to head over to the main stage. We'd love to see you there, and then see you back there at around 4:15, 4:20. Stop by, say hello, introduce yourself, and thank you all for coming.
thank you, guys.